All right, welcome to Clicking Balls, episode 5. My name's Heath.
I'm Brenton. And Josh.
And we've got a very special guest with us today. We've got death metal frontman, BJJ black belt, head coach of Perkins Jujitsu, and a superstar in the making out in Ringwood, the main beast, Deon Perkins. How you doing, Deon?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing, because we don't pay guests. So, yeah.
What? Oh.
We do favours. So
we'll work something out.
So this is take 2, because we realised that the podcast works better when we turn the microphones on.
Yeah, you learn those lessons very well.
That's experience. That's the kind of experience you get from 5 episodes.
It was supposed to be Josh's turned off.
5 episodes to learn to turn the mics on. You guys are just killing it.
To be fair, this is the first episode we've ever recorded with all our equipment. We've been waiting for about a month for it all to arrive. So you're christening our equipment for us.
We still forgot shit though.
I'm pretty honoured and happy to be christening your equipment.
The gay joke, the homosexual jokes are never far away with jiu-jitsu guys, are they? It's just accepted for it.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu or homoerotic floor dancing, I like to call it. So.
The only difference between that and gay sex is eye contact, really. You don't make eye contact.
Friction.
Oh, you don't make eye contact in gay sex, right? Yeah.
Well, unless there's a mirror, and there usually is if you're doing it right. So how you been anyway? We'll start with the Perkins Jujitsu. You're in a new place. You've got more classes running, and you've got better exposure. You're pretty excited about the new joint.
Always love more exposure.
Exposure's great. Got a few of those on my rap sheet, but
you got 3 walls of windows.
One's a mirror.
It's good to have moved. I was pretty excited about the move, although there was a little bit of sadness leaving the other place. But really, I was pretty pumped to move on because small business being what it is at the moment, with a bit of pressure on us and stuff. So I didn't want that to come out in the jiu-jitsu. I didn't want that to come out in my coaching. So moving on, we've sort of refreshed and found a nice little space down there in Vermont South. I made sure to say it properly then.
Yeah, give us the address.
Vermont.
Vermont South?
Number 2, Vermont. No. Hanover Road it is, in Vermont South.
The
Sport Link Centre it is. Yeah, so we're
go.
within another sports centre, which is actually, we started that way. On Canterbury Road there in the Maroondah Indoor Sports Centre, which was fantastic. Shitty little room with the worst mats. I mean, they were pretty much just dirty rags on the floor. But there was also the netball ladies, which kept us amused. It was very hard to teach classes there. No one really learnt much. But yeah, it was. So yeah, we're back in a sports centre now. Loving it. It's all good. Everyone's
happy. It's a great centre. Like you say, we've rolled there a few times now, and you always see people walking past and like, what's going on there? And start to inquire in. It's really good for the club. I'm really excited about it. And next year more classes are running.
I agree. That's it's good. It's quite funny watching the guys. We're so used to sort of being enclosed in our little factory where we were. When there's people walking past, I have to keep telling everyone, like, stop eyeballing the passers-by. They're all just like meerkats. I'm like, guys, stop looking at them like that. They're freaking out. It's already weird enough as it is. It's jiu-jitsu. So, but yeah, as you just said, more classes next year. We're looking to put on a masterclass for our purple belts and above. And also, I want to incorporate a combatives style class, a street defense class, which I think is the essence of jiu-jitsu.
Back to old school style.
Back to the old school. A bit
gloves
old school.
on.
So, gloves on, bloody faces, and dealing with a striking attacker. So,
well, yeah, I mean, that's all well and good, but when are we going to get serious and actually have a full-on dick joke class? Because I'll put my hand up. I'm wanting to learn that.
I'm pretty sure that's Tuesdays and Thursdays every week, and you just haven't been there.
Yeah. Also, I think you guys probably are better instructors than I am at that. So.
I'm willing to take the class. I'll have to instruct a few of them on the finer points of your mother and penal humour.
Don't forget, that's what she said.
Oh,
yeah.
TWSS.
Yes. You'll learn. You'll learn.
Like this, though.
No, it's not. It's never unfair to pick on Richard. Well, speaking about stupid jokes, and we were talking about this before we turned the mics on for the first time. It's Dad Joke Friday is actually born out of Perkins Jujitsu.
What a phenomenon that is!
Taking the world by storm. By the world,
actually gone international. There are Canadians involved. There are.
Well, hang on, hold the phone. Canadians involved. We're done.
Yeah, like that shit.
That's it.
Who let them on board? I think there was a Kiwi.
Eh?
Yeah.
it's great. There's some cracking jokes coming out.
No, there's some shocking jokes.
Okay, there's some shocking jokes coming out. I like to think they were sort of born from the crappy jokes I tell on the mat a lot.
Inspired by a true story, yes.
Inspired by a true story, always. But yeah, and it's taken off. There's people we don't know doing them. They're just jumping on this hashtaggy thing. It's kind of parallel to this new "I'll ride with you" thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's heading down that road. So
yeah, but without the with part, it's just "I'll ride you."
Yeah, I'll ride you. Yeah, .com /Richard. So.
Poor old Richard. It's no use trying to explain who Richard is to everyone. He's got no chance.
You're
better off not
Perkins
knowing.
Jujitsu
I think there is a very important point to make, that everyone has a Richard.
There is a Richard everywhere.
Yeah, if you have a bunch of friends, you're a bloke, and you have a bunch of friends, there's one guy you hang shit on, and he just sort of takes it with a smile. And it's fucking hilarious. If you don't have a mate like that, you are that mate.
You've got to find one. Well, Richard's ours.
Yeah, and in all fairness to him, I guess we all give him so much shit because he's just such a friggin' winner. He's an overachiever, and that just makes giving him shit more fun.
Yeah.
So we love you though, mate.
Bastard.
Yeah, we only do it because he can take it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And we'll be working for him one day.
Well, yeah. And his family give him shit too, so we're just joining the cause.
So, at the top of the show, we said that you're a former death metal frontman. What would you say your influences are?
I don't think there's such thing as a former death metal frontman. I think once you're a death metal frontman, forever.
No, there's no getting out. It's like the mafia. Definitely. Look, I applied for the main band I was ever in. Sort of later on, I was in a lot of bands as a youngster and stuff, making a whole lot of racket. And then I joined a band called Skepsis, and going on what my influences were, it was I was asked by the guitarist when I rang him to join. He said, "What are your influences?" And I couldn't think of anything. And then it just came to me, and I just said, "Alcohol and Satan." And he said over the phone without even hearing me, "You're in." So, that was it.
And it was that kind of band.
It was that kind of band. Yeah.
I mean, you give the textbook answer. That's what you get. You get the gig.
Yeah.
So,
and,
how long did Skeptis go on for?
Look, they went on. We played. Quite a few shows, like pretty much almost every weekend at local pubs, and then
Whereabouts was it?
In Adelaide, in South Australia. Yeah, don't hold that against me, but that's where I'm
lived
from.
there too for a while, so
yeah.
interesting stories.
We were about 6 or 7 years. Recorded a CD, which a funny story. Well, sad or funny, probably both. If you. Depending on how you look at it,
sadness plus time
like
equals funny.
Exactly right. So yeah, we had we sat on this CD for some time, probably a year, and then we thought, let's get it remixed, remastered by a different producer. And anyway, we left it with him overnight at the studio, and we rocked back in there the next day, and he committed suicide, sadly. So as far as we're concerned, our CD was a winner, and we succeeded. I mean,
I think it was your influences.
Yeah, definitely. So if that isn't a death metal CD, I don't know what is. So.
I mean, that should be on like the credit notes on the inside of the sleeve or something.
So if you release that today with social media, that'll get out there. Wow, this is the mix.
Huge.
Yeah, it'd be huge.
Oh, look,
Still could be.
I was sort of calling myself Kurt Cobain for a while, but
Except your fiancé didn't try and kill you.
I was going to say, you're not Kurt Cobain. You're more Courtney Love.
yes, well,
in that scenario.
Yeah, that's probably fair enough. Yeah.
Is that how you met Jodie? Your lovely partner?
It's a true story of romantic meeting and all that sort of thing. Yeah, she was actually the cousin of the drummer in our band, and at a very, very heavy duty mosh pitted show one night, she was in the front and I was eyeballing her hard, and some dude knocked her down in the mosh pit, and I didn't miss a beat. I just kept on growling and reached down and picked her up out of the crowd, and that was a love at first death metal grunt. So.
A true gentleman does keep on growling.
Yeah, no, you don't. Yeah, well,
it's pretty much death metal Cinderella.
Pretty much, yeah. And a big, huge fight broke out, and there was chairs involved, and
Jodie won.
Jodie definitely won. She won the main prize, obviously. So, but yeah. A true story of love and romance there. Love you, baby.
Good. Get the plugs in.
Whereabouts would you play in Adelaide? Like whereabouts did you grow up in?
Well, I grew up sort of all over Adelaide. My mum's from out in the sticks, so in the hotter part, sort of Riverland way. But I grew up with my grandma in the city, so I sort of went between, and then just lived all over Adelaide. 30 years I was there, so I mean it's the size of a 5-cent piece.
Yeah.
So.
And what year did you move to Melbourne?
What year was it? It was probably 8
What
years
decade
ago.
was it?
Yeah. Just the memory's not that great, guys. Just telling you. It's probably 8 years ago now. Maybe coming up on 9.
Oh, really?
So been here for a while. Yeah.
About the time they recriminalised marijuana, I think.
They knew.
It was time to leave.
It was time to go.
They didn't recriminalise it. They just made it easy for the cops to shake you down for it.
Motherfuckers.
The amount of taxis that is actually paid for in weed. And plus, I remember one of my friends...
Allegedly, people. Allegedly.
One of my friends, his old man was a policeman and got pulled over. And the cops, they saw the bag of weed on the front seat next to him. And they saw him and going, "Oh, you're fucked," writing all these tickets. And they're going, "Is this your car?" He goes, "No, it's my dad's." So they run his registration, looked up his dad, and they're going, "What's your dad's name?" And he said his name. And it turns out he's a prosecutor. So they just tore the tickets up,
boom,
and stole his weed. That's a West Terrace.
That is so Adelaide.
I think they call it confiscating, but
I think it was
same.
evidence.
Yeah,
And somehow the evidence was burned.
apparently it was amazing evidence.
Really fucking good.
Super sticky.
It was that good he bought it back off him.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh dear. Yeah, good old Adelaide.
Yeah, the pizza evidence later was brilliant too.
Well, it was at the front of Aussie Pizza House in West Terrace, so
There you are.
not far off.
Allegedly, again.
So yeah, in Adelaide, start off in a band. How did Jiu-jitsu come into your life?
Well, it's funny. I always sort of trained martial arts. I was one of those crazy kids that was always into martial arts movies and stuff like that. My uncle actually took me to Taekwondo for the first time.
Right.
And
So you got a black belt in the afternoon, or?
No, it took me at least a week.
Oh,
No, I won't give it too much crap because they can kick good. So
It's starting to be re-legitimised now.
yeah, I'm not gonna give them too much shit. Trained Taekwondo for a while. Did some karate, kung fu, all this sort of stuff. But then I also had some high school friends that were quite high level karate, and they'd been to Japan and had instructors levels and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And one of them actually burst in the room one day when we were all there and had these new cassettes. They had the Gracie in Action DVDs. At the time, VHS cassettes, guys.
Yeah.
For you kids out there. I'm not going to explain what they are. We watched on in amazement as, all those matches happened in front of us, and we'd never seen it before and had never heard of it before. And these guys were choking each other to sleep and doing these mad arm locks and taking these positions. And like, I was just instantly amazed and captivated, and as were we all, and basically all just decided then, we're never doing any stand up again. We are just going to choke the shit out of each other from now on. Like,
It's amazing the first time because we grew up watching professional wrestling and go, "What? The sleeper hold's real?
Yeah.
That actually works?"
You just put the hand behind the head, not on the forehead.
And that's it.
Yeah. So that's how we sort of came to see it, and then one of my friends, Sean, who was particularly apt at most sort of athletic things, just started training himself like a madman, and eventually he went on to find Peter DeBean, my coach now, and formed an affiliation with him and started training under him directly, and then he formed our first club in South Australia, which was BJJ. So
We're talking early 2000s here, aren't we?
97.
Oh, 97, wow.
Yeah.
That
So,
was the first one in Adelaide, South Australia. The first,
the only
one. Yeah.
At that
Yeah,
stage,
definitely. I mean, people, my nana was still asking me every day, "Oh, how was your Kwai Dongo?" And my mum still thinks I do karate, and so
it's amazing thinking back then because I started in Sydney in 2001 or something like that, and there were 3 schools in Sydney, and one was 2 hours that way, and then the other one's 2 hours the other way.
Now that you'd find more schools in Sydney than pizza shops, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Your coach was a blue belt, wasn't he, when you first started?
White
White belt.
Started with a white belt.
It was the same with Sean, wasn't it? 'Cause
Sean,
I remember training in that little tiny little converted garage in Theberton.
Oh,
Yep.
that was awesome.
Just
That was awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
you turn, and the people involved were brilliant.
Yeah.
I got to say, I remember getting the shit beaten out of me by Pete Violator.
Oh,
And
Peter O'Shea.
yeah, Pete O'Shea. Oh, gave me an absolute hiding. But then he'd sort
then
of
he'd tell you
smile
all
at you, tell you about it, and then just sort of put you on your way. And then I remember just thinking, I think I was about 20 at the time, and he was to say he was a full-grown man is to depreciate men. He was at least half.
Is he the guy that likes to hunt his own food? And all that
Oh,
stuff?
yeah.
Like Gabriel
yes.
Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Yeah,
big fucking dude.
Exactly like Gabriel Gonzaga. Yeah, that's probably the best description.
No
yeah.
backward step.
Yeah, he was the missing link and a half, that man.
But, there were a fantastic bunch. I remember anytime I'd grapple with Sean, I'd almost get to a point where I thought, I might have something here. And this fucking leg would appear out of somewhere, or an arm, and I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go.
He's just trapping you.
Yeah, look, I have very, very fond memories of those times. I was a uni student and broke as shit. But anytime I'd turn up on the mats, everyone was always really welcoming. I remember a couple of times literally dragging myself off the mat. I was that damn exhausted. Yeah. But, and then I think Jimmy was there with a beer, and he's like, "Go on, lad, get it into you." And that's just the way it was. It was a social aspect and a very accepting aspect. And it was the only martial art I'd ever been to where you weren't trying to be the hardest motherfucker on the block.
Yeah,
it is funny because I always found that too. That and running your own school, the ones that come in, the real alpha males, sort of don't tend to last all that long, or they slowly settle down and calm down because it's too hard. Yeah,
you definitely have to check your ego at the door with jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's probably one of the most appealing things about it. You like you said, you sort of separate the wheat from the chaff, if you like, and you only end up with the guys that are happy to have their asses kicked and learn from it. Not they don't, the guys that sort of beat the crap out of you and then wipe their feet at you. They just don't last because. Who the hell wants to roll with those dudes? So,
and there's always someone better.
Yeah, exactly right. And then a 14-year-old girl will choke them to sleep. So they either work with that or they don't. So
you end up with so many nerds. I don't know why. Jiu-jitsu just attracts nerds.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I ended up in this. But
Alcohol and Satan.
Yeah. Back to my influences.
So that's what, 17 years.
Yeah. And it's good because I still see some of the guys around. Like there was a Greek guy, Matt Karakukalakis. He's still around. He's a brown belt now, I think. Atsushi Oshima. He's a black belt for Gracie Barra in Sydney. His guard was just amazing, and that's kind of where I styled myself on. He at the time he had that unpassable guard, and I was like, I want my guard like that. So. Not that it ever became a parcel, but I just tried to do the same thing, so I'm still trying to do the same thing. But look, it was a great club, and I guess what I've tried to keep from that is the family culture. Like we always had kids running around on the mat. Yeah. We always just had people jumping in, and it was a very social culture as well. And so I've tried to sort of hang on to a bit of that.
Well, that's something that I liked about the place because I've been training at Perkins for 3 years now. We've been there about 3 years, something like that. And that you got your daughters are always running around, and there's always some kids, and it's not don't step on the floor, you're gonna ruin the key of the dojo or anything. It's like they're fucking kids. That's what they do.
No, exactly right. So,
you need that kind of place, and it helps the older guys like me who are bringing my kids in our training there.
And I think it's it's an integral part of jiu-jitsu. I think that's sort of lost nowadays in some clubs where they're solely sport sort of based, and it's very serious, and they're just all about sort of hitting the comps. Whereas I think I like to have a more holistic approach, like the whole big picture of jiu-jitsu. So it should be the body, fitness, flexibility, all that stuff. Then diet. And then you've got family, friends, and social circles, and being a good person, and self-defense as well is another key component that not many gyms are doing much of. And not that I'm bagging any other gyms, but I just think that the whole big picture of jiu-jitsu is the way to go because it should be all inclusive. You shouldn't be just hunting guys that are going to win you gold medals. You should be looking for those guys who are struggling in particular ways and trying to make them improve their life and improve their abilities and stuff. So, more holistic approach, I think, is the way to go. That's just my
do you think
views.
that's the difference between a sport and a martial art?
Exactly right. Exactly right. As far as I'm concerned, jiu-jitsu is a martial art. It was a martial art when I started. We didn't do any competition style sparring. That was unheard of.
No one else to compete with.
Well, there was that.
The SA Championships were every Thursday.
No, look, it was only self-defense jiu-jitsu. So, gloves, lots of punching, lots of defending yourself from bad situations, and then a bit of sparring at the end. But it always have that emphasis on self-defense, And I think the sport stuff's fantastic, and I do love that super nice sparring, that real high tech rolling. But I think you have to have everything, not just one component, or you're sort of missing out.
So starting out as a white belt, and you're what we're going to say 5'9". Am I being kind? Saying 5'9"?
5'7".
5'7",
Yeah.
and 65 kilos when you're wet.
Yeah.
So the small guy, as a white belt, did you find it difficult to get started, or were you just in love with it straight away?
No, I was in love with it straight away. And that was, I guess, one of the big things was, doing karate and taekwondo and all the rest of it. I used to cop my fair share of beatings, but in jiu-jitsu, I could just make it work. And, it was still very new to the country, so it wasn't like I was taking on guys who knew jiu-jitsu. It was like I was taking on big dudes who just flailed, so I could, get the back and choke them quite easily. So
that never changes.
Never change. Well, everyone understands a little bit of something nowadays, so you're not just getting the freshies anymore. But back then it was good. It was I could make it work, and that was the big thing for me. It was like, wow, I'm so tiny, but I can make this work. Against big guys. So that's what I loved about it. So.
I would say the thing that I struggle against is the 50-kilo bench press. Those fuckers get me every time.
50-kilo bench press.
Yeah.
That's all right.
You're not talking about Marcus, because I think he's about 250.
He's getting big, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a unit.
Yeah, that's what you like to see. When you put on the armbar and you go, yep, everything's in the right place here, and then he just picks you up, you're like, fucker.
He makes you do sit-ups.
Yeah. I'm a heavyweight. You shouldn't be doing this shit. So, all right, on the same token then, the most common question you get from white belts coming in is, how do I defeat the bigger opponent? So what do you say when somebody, your size comes in and says, what do I do with a guy that's 100 kilos? Because there's no trick or no move, is it? I mean,
there is. Bring a mate.
Yeah.
Bring a mate, bring a gun.
200-meter dash.
Yeah, dude. Runaway jutsu, I was always really big with that.
It's everyone. It's the best self-defense there is.
Definitely.
Don't
fight.
Get the fuck out of Dodge.
Get the fuck out of there, yeah. No, look, I mean, if we're talking just sort of, sparring or grappling on the mat, well, there's different ways to grapple the big guys. Obviously, my personal preference is try to keep them directly in front of me. Don't let them make angles and stuff. And bide my time and always hunt the back. That's probably my favourite thing, is to hunt the back. I'm always looking for back takes all the time on everyone. But particularly on big guys, being so small myself, it's quite easy to duck under the armpit or, and they lose me. So
big guys means big gaps.
Big gaps, exactly right. So you just, you learn to really manipulate those gaps and angles as a small guy. You've got no choice, because if you try and, battle.
You try and muscle
head.
head.
It's just not going to quite work for me. So, I learned early on to make angles and find those little cracks of daylight. So, yeah.
It's just a simple thing, you just got to try and use what advantage you've got. And if you're smaller and quicker, then that's what you got.
Right, especially for smaller people, understanding how to utilize your whole body as a weapon against one of their limbs or one of their chokes. It's not just like fist against fist or anything like that. You got to use everything that you have against.
It's not Don Fry fighting.
Achilles heel, if that makes sense. Yeah.
No, that's I couldn't have put it better myself. That's pretty much the essence of jiu-jitsu, really. I mean, I talk about in my classes a lot, like incorporating whole body when you're trying to attack. So, just trying to squeeze with your arms is useless if you've only got little bits of string like me.
Yeah.
So you try and incorporate, your whole entire body into a choke, so you can really just put the power on. But
But do you think that's what makes it absolutely ideal for women, especially?
Too right. And not just that, women are aggressive, man. Have you grappled like some of these ladies? Holy shit.
And not just that, they're unpredictable and able to attack from every angle.
Yeah.
They can do things that guys can't do.
Yeah. There's so
literally.
Often,
apart from the washing. Sorry, Jody, I love you, baby.
Hang that shit out.
No, just the hip flexibility.
Yeah.
The ability to have all four limbs in attack position at random times when you're not expecting it. Like, you think you're past the legs, all of a sudden it's around the neck. And
exactly right. I could name a bunch of like, being so light, I've had the privilege of actually sparring quite hard with some ladies, because I'm not overbearing them with my weight. So, ladies like Sunny Munn, Liv's another great one. Even my partner, she's quite much heavier than me, but yeah, I mean, her power is insane.
Yeah.
She's a purple belt in her own right as well.
She's a purple belt. If I could get her ass on the mat, I'd try and grade her, but she's a bit, she's under the pump this year, so hopefully next year she'll get back into it. But yeah, these ladies, they just have obviously guys, all our power's upstairs, sort of in the shoulders and the chest.
Speak for yourself.
Well, okay. Except for Heath, he's quite a...
It's all downstairs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas the ladies tend to have the power in the hips, and that really lends itself to jiu-jitsu. So I'd like to... I heard you guys last show talking about, the lack of ladies at Meta Morris and stuff, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Let's get... heaps of ladies fighting because they are.
And the thing
awesome
is, it is
fighters.
spectacular.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's not a matter of so many sports. You have the male and female version, and
it's chalk and cheese. Like you talk women's basketball versus men's basketball. And there's no doubt that the women try as hard and train just as hard and put everything into it. They'd love to get 70 cents on the dollar on what the male counterparts are. But the game's just totally different. And it's not even close as good as a spectacle. In jiu-jitsu and even MMA, it's just as good to watch.
If anything, I'd say it's more pure, more beautiful.
It's more technique heavy as opposed to using strength or anything like that. And I think what I like about watching the women jiu-jitsu is how active they are from guard.
Always.
Because they're so flexible and they can just do things that you can't do.
Then you also get your awesome passes. I like to copy or try and learn a lot of the passes Leticia Ribeiro does, where she sort of passes hard one side, head in, and then cartwheels to the other side. I mean, that stuff's just amazing to me. That's
any excuse to do a headstand.
Any excuse to do a headstand. I do like to cartwheel and headstand a lot. So.
And that's what I like. You like to cartwheel so much, so that's the part of my game that I've modelled on yours.
Yeah.
So I think 110 kilo cartwheel catches a lot of people by surprise.
I don't think I'll ever get used to seeing you do it. It's still just, I just smile ear to ear when I see you do that stuff.
You're down to 110 now, man. Doing well.
108, yeah. The first cartwheel pass I ever did was on Joyce.
On Joyce, that's
Joyce,
right.
who would be about 40 kilos, if that.
Her eyes went big.
Yeah. Right in the dick.
Yeah, she was surprised.
She was
scared
surprised.
for her life.
We were all a little worried for her that day. But it was the cleanest, most awesome cartwheel ever, and it just looked like a guy my size doing it. And that's pretty impressive, man.
I had a lot of time to plan it too. Going back to the women in jiu-jitsu and MMA, the other thing is like there's, I don't know, I'm going to throw out a number, 95 to 99% male. So if a woman gets up that courage to go in and stick with it, they're a beast to begin with. Yeah. So when they get to the top, it's that kind of person who is stuck with it is just going to attack.
Exactly right. We've got at our club at the moment, young Monica, and she reminds me of young Tracy, was another young lady we had at our club, and she just walked in off her own back, didn't bring a group of friends with her, just wanted to train jiu-jitsu and came into a big group of guys and just stuck with it and worked her butt off, and that's what Mon's doing now. And you're exactly right.
Hard.
Her guard's off the hook. Yeah. It's going to be, give her another year and she'll be triangling guys, no problem at all, like all the guys. So, and like you just said, if they're going to come in and they're going to train in amongst the guys and just, never whinge about stuff and just go for it, they're going to be beasts. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, and like you're saying, you end up with sweethearts in jiu-jitsu because all the dickheads get weirded out. So it's getting past that initial stage, especially for the women, and then they're laughing.
Yeah, exactly once they start tapping the first guys that come in, swaggering in, and then all of a sudden triangle choked out, that's also when those guys have that test of character.
Exactly right.
And it will happen. Like, there's women that have choked me out many, many times, and I'm sure there will be in the future. You just learn what you can from it and move on.
On the flip side, I've tapped heaps of women.
I was just going to say, I think he paid most of those women to choke him out, but
I got changed.
Stormy Summers, she had a fucking wicked triangle lock.
Dear.
But I think, especially for women, just on a street self-defense aspect, I think it's very beneficial for women to know that, because obviously the best defense is going to be the 100-meter sprint, and everyone knows that, especially from a female perspective where you can be overpowered. But if they've already got their hands on you, like, I'd want my girlfriend to know jiu-jitsu above anything else. And I think especially they used to do rape-safe courses. I remember they did them, and I thought they were really effective.
I've actually been asked to do some sort of rape-safe stuff for... what's the word, for street workers, basically, for female street workers. because obviously they put themselves in a lot of danger with their profession. So
Yeah.
I haven't actually done one yet, but I'm in the process of sort of organising that thing.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, if it's close quarters and tends to be on the ground, well, that's where jiu-jitsu thrives.
Telling my girlfriend, arm bars all day.
Yeah,
arm bars
yeah,
all day from guard.
Yeah, but it's like, nothing against the striking arts, but once somebody grabs you, what do you do next? And you got to get rid of that person and make space so then you can punch, kick, throw your stilettos and run the fuck away.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, anyone that tells a 45-kilogram girl to stand toe-to-toe with a 100-kilogram guy, like, it's not to say it's impossible for her to win, but fuck, it's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And you poke him in the eyes once. I mean, that doesn't end the fight there.
No, and he can end one with one punch.
Yeah, and the thing is, you punch them, they get up, you choke them out, they're asleep.
Yeah,
Simple
that's
as that.
right. I mean, even groin shots. I mean, it sounds good in theory, but groin shots actually, I enjoy them myself. So,
It costs extra.
Yeah,
That's how I face up.
Yeah,
But that's it, though. I mean, it's not the TKO or anything, is it? It's like you get hit, and like, now I'm angry.
yeah. But in saying that, I think particularly in this day and age, I think all women should probably train something. At least, whether it's jiu-jitsu, because it's I'm a bit biased, but something, anything that's going to give them a bit of awareness and a bit of body control and movement, and if they can make a bit of space and get out of a bad situation, well, that's a win. So.
And all your girls train, so
All my girls train. They've all trained jiu-jitsu off and on. They get to that teenage, girl stage, and they just become mindless, screaming banshees. But
teenage girls,
and they've also trained Muay Thai, a little bit of karate here and there. So we just keep them. If they want to break from jiu-jitsu and they want to train something else, we're happy to let them do that, just to keep them involved in martial arts. So.
Actually, I think I've seen your girls kick the bag, and you go, wow, that's a teenage girl. There's some real power and some technique in there. So I don't know who's coaching.
Girls are angry.
Angst is a power. Yeah.
I think it was alcohol and Satan.
So you've been running your own gym for 4 years now, and the way you run your gym is
Probably
something
coming up on 4.5, almost 5.
4.5, 5.
Yeah.
It's the way you run your gym and the way that the how do you say it? Yeah, go grab another beer.
I'll have another one.
Yeah.
Well, beer breaks are an important part of clicking balls.
Hydrate.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Christian.
Christian, sorry.
So the way you want to run your place is there is etiquette and there's tradition, but it's not slathered on deep. Is that something very conscious? You want a little bit of respect there, but you don't want to.
Look, I think it's more. The jiu-jitsu. The way I like to see that is, rather than forcing everyone to sort of pay respect, I think they should take it upon themselves.
Yeah.
They should own it rather than be forced to do it. So little things like bowing on and off the mat we've introduced just recently, just as a bit of a traditional thing. No hands on hips. That one we got from our wrestling coach Chris Shan. Again, another respect thing. Body language wise, when they're on the mat learning, don't cross your arms or put your hands on your hips. It looks like you're not interested, that sort of thing.
Every new white belt has to get reminded twice.
Yeah, once everyone's done 1,000 burpees, they start remembering, so it's no problem. Just general respect around the club and that sort of stuff. And as I said, I don't think laying it on overly thick sort of does anyone any favours, but at the same time, not forgetting where people are, and you're in a martial arts club, and obviously the coach has worked his ass off to get his black belt and is there happy to teach people, so the respect should be mutual.
But at the same time, it is a nice... casual is almost not the word, but it's a comfortable atmosphere in your gym.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Accepting.
It's like a brotherhood. That's what it
Inclusive.
feels like.
That's what I mean.
I think that comes
a Reich,
from...
I think you're trying to is a word.
I think it comes from like the old school, like we were talking before about, where you just had these little garages, like training on rags more or less.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it for competition. You're not doing it for
It's fun.
sort of to out and beat people up. It's like a brotherhood. You go there with might only be 10 members, and it's just they're your friends, and it becomes a social activity. But you feel like you feel a sense of allegiance to the people that you're training with, and it's about getting each other better, not just improving yourself.
And that's 100% right. That's 100% right. We've got a bit of a mantra at our club. You know, like as soon as we get new members, we work our butts off to get them as good as we can, as quick as we can. And that way they chase us, make us work harder to get better, and then it's just a circular type growth. You know, everyone's growing all the time and learning and trying to improve. So
it's great that moment when you go easy on somebody that's new. You know, just let's work it into it. Oh, no, hey, you know, you put this grip here, put that grip there, and then all of a sudden they go something. Go, shit! Now I have to try.
it's actually a nice thing because,
especially as a coach, you know, you must.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's like, you know, it's really. I encourage my guys to get after me. You know, I like to roll with them, and we've got a few guys that really, you know, they're competition style guys. So when you grapple them, they don't tend to go too light. They like to get going. And you know, I invite them to tap me. And if they get me, you know, I'm happy as Larry. To me, that's a win for me because, well, shit, I taught them. So
yeah, that's a great quote. That one of our coaches, Brian Hurley, said once that as a teacher, if your students aren't beating you, then you're not a very good teacher.
Yeah,
you know, they've got to beat you once or twice.
Exactly right.
Which leads me into a story, and it's a little humble brag story. But I remember the first time I tapped Deon. It was at a comp class, so we're going hard for it, and you know, I've got 50 kilos, maybe 55 at this stage. And I got the Americana on and I tapped on. I'm like, I'm too buggered to celebrate. Not that I would, you know, jump up and down on the mat. Anyway, so
I totally would.
Yeah. So tap hands, away we go again. And I think I almost got something else. And struggling, probably a DAS because that's what I do.
Those fucking DASs.
couldn't finish it. Anyway, the timer runs out, and it's the most honest ego thing I've ever heard anybody say. You go, you got me once, I couldn't let you fucking get me again. I really like that because it is just such an honest ego.
Yeah.
To admit that out to a student, you know, and not anything special or anything. You know, we've just done 40 minutes of grappling or whatever it is. There's no song and dance about it. It's just being honest with yourself with what happened, and I loved it.
And you know, it's a beautiful relationship on the mat like that. Like if you can have partners that you train with, and you know, someone gets a tap, and it's kind of like, you know, it's such a moot point. Like who gets the tap? Like no one gives two shits about that. It's more, wow, you know, that sweep was awesome, you know, regardless of who did it. He did it to you or you did it to him. And, you know, you appreciate all the techniques and all the movement and stuff through the roll. And the tap is just basically where you get to go and have a drink for 2 seconds and then come back and start again. Like, no one cares who taps who. And
Well, no, I've found that with myself. Just I honestly don't remember at the end of a comp class or training who I tapped or who tapped me or whatever. But I do
I've got
that.
a notebook.
But I do remember, like, when you get that one sweet sweep or something, and it's just all of a sudden you move the arm, move the leg, get the hook, and then
Everything
flows. And
Yeah.
it's like, wow, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, and even if it's like the other guy doing it to you, and you feel yourself getting set up, and then you go, and I'm halfway through just telling the guy that was sensational, dude. Like
Sometimes you got to remember, oh shit, I got to tap now.
Yeah.
While you're congratulating him.
Yeah.
I think that's the point where they actually fall in love with jiu-jitsu. As soon as you get that one move where you're like, fuck, it worked.
It works.
That
Yeah,
did it. Yeah.
and it felt like, you know, glass, or just butter. It was just like,
pure.
you know,
Because you know,
it just,
it's like
it
hitting a
was
good golf shot or
pure
a good
good
cricket match shot.
movement.
You can feel it.
Exactly
You know
right.
that's a sweet spot right there.
It's the same as like, you know, you're a basketballer and the ball leaves your hand, and as soon as it's left, you know it's in.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so getting back to the culture at the gym and that. I mean, that's what we've sort of gone for, and I really work my butt off to try and keep that nice culture and that sort of understanding between people, and you know,
It makes everyone welcome on the mat.
Yeah, you got to be all inclusive, and you know, I'm just old school, I guess, but that's the way I like it. So.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same. That's why I like it there too. I mean, I'm thinking, you know, 3 years I've been there, and I haven't really noticed anybody have an issue, or you know, the worst is a couple of people that go really hard and they learn themselves to settle down. You know, and
I mean, you're always going to have
every
those
gym.
guys that go hard, but I mean, you know, depending on their attitude, I mean, obviously. There's a few guys who are very comp focused, so you know when we roll, they roll hard. But you know they're focused, they're driven, they're goal driven. So of course they're going to go hard.
And that's what I think it is. They're not trying to beat the person; they're trying to improve themselves.
Exactly right.
And they're consistently like that, so you know what to expect when you roll with them.
Exactly right. So you wear your mouth guard and you know your knee pads and all the rest of it, your headgear
And, also you have to make sure to keep the old fella tucked away, because we have seen one of our members try and submit you with that. The old, the corny bar.
Yeah, interesting story that.
We
Not sure if
won't
it's
name
fit for
him.
this. It's not fit for this show, but
Fuck.
I think it's a bit late. He's already named him, so
Oh, we can bleep it. It's fine.
we can bleep it out. Cornelius Wang.
It's the perfect name for the whole year.
We didn't make that up either, guys. That is actually his name. Yeah, he's in my closed guard, and I'm sort of just letting him sort of work his passing and stuff. And
Sorry, for those that don't know, closed guard means Deon's on his back with his legs wrapped around the hips of his opponent, who's on his knees.
Gazing into his eyes.
I was going to say it's not as bad as it sounds.
It is.
Anyway,
worse.
so yeah, he takes grips on the gi to start opening the legs and past the guard, and I sort of said to him, "Look, corny, you might want to move one of your grips there, mate." And he just kept passing, and I was like, "Corny, mate, can you just ease up on that grip there, mate?" And he sort of looked at me and shook his head, keep passing. I'm like, okay, I just need to tell him, so corny, mate, you got a handful of junk there, mate. Can you please let go? He's like, no, I don't, and just kept passing. I'm like, meanwhile, I'm starting to sort of enjoy it at the same time. No, at the same time, it's,
The opening goes for the finish.
yeah. Well, so I actually had to. It took me a bit of work to convince him that he actually had a handful of myself, and I think the last phrase I sort of said to him was, "Mate, that's not the handle to the guard that you're trying to work there. Like, you need to let go." And then he was quite. He went from. I think he went like deep magenta to red to purple once he realised. So
Poor old job.
Purple belt to blue belt.
yeah, pretty much. Way to get a grading.
Yeah. Tap, nap, snap, or fap.
Well, if it works, you do it again, don't you? See?
He hasn't done it again, so I'm a little disappointed, but a little relieved as well.
So how do you, like we said, you've been around the jiu-jitsu scene in Australia for a while. How have you seen it change? I mean, not only just growing, but the sports side of it's coming in more, and we've seen an explosion in the number of tournaments that are around, especially like 2015. There's going to be more tournaments than ever.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, when I started back in SA, it was like we did one comp a year, and we made the pilgrimage to Victoria for that one comp a year, and
Long fucking drive in a
minivan, yeah. But it was nowadays. You're exactly right. I mean, there's a comp. There's almost a couple of times there's 2 comps, 3 comps running on in the same week. Like it gets out of hand. So look, I think it was always going to happen. I think it was evolutionary, but I don't think it's where jiu-jitsu is meant to stay. I think it's sort of headed down that road because it got popular, and now it's starting to hopefully circle back. People are starting to sort of realise, like, I'm not getting fulfillment from just sport jiu-jitsu, and the club, some of the cultures in some of these clubs are questionable. We've seen some interesting stuff come out of the States with sport-only clubs.
Yeah. Slash cults. And then, it becomes elitist, all this sort of stuff. So the growth's great. The talent pool in Australia at the moment is insane. There's guys like Lachlan Giles, Tobias. They've all won their way through to the ADCC. What was the other guy's name? Anyone? There was 3 dudes.
Yeah,
Richard Garrett?
No. I do know. I saw it and I read it during the week.
Yeah,
but I've forgotten now.
I mean, anyway, apparently these guys, I didn't see the other guys, but I saw Lachlan Giles fight, and he's just on song at the moment, and his guard work and stuff's off the hook. So the talent here is great as far as sport, but I just think we're sort of forgetting the roots of the game a little bit, and hopefully it circles back around. It goes back to what we were saying before, is it's a martial art first, and it's a sport second. We spar that way to improve our movement so we can defend ourselves. So
I think, like you said before, about having a holistic approach to jiu-jitsu is a big difference between the traditional martial art-based jiu-jitsu and a sport-based jiu-jitsu, where their key focus is win this round, win this point, win whatever it is to win this competition. Whereas as a martial art, it's more like self-improvement. For lack of a better word, it's like a way of life where you take the lessons you learn on the mat and you apply it to every other aspect of your life.
Exactly right. And I think, the other thing is the direction your jiu-jitsu goes. Like, you know, if you're a pure competition fighter, you know, you're happy to win on an advantage, or you're happy to win on a point. Like, if you know you've got a strong guard and a sweep, then you'll pull guard and sweep and then hold out and win on those points. Where I always say to my guys, look, I'm happy if you lose as long as you're going for the kill.
Yep.
You know, so you know, I'd rather see them lose the match going for the sub than win the match stalling out on an advantage. You know, because we don't play that mindset. We play from the time the ref says, you know, Kumbach, they get after it. They're after the sub ultimately, you know, and even if they're up on points, they'll lose the match going for the sub. And for me, that's the true path, you know, like you go for the sub. You don't.
You sign the lease.
You sign the lease, mate. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think
unquote.
martial arts come about because you have to fight to save your life. That's why martial arts existed. That's where they've come from historically. And so when you apply it to sport, you lose that kill or be killed attitude where you can't just hang around and then the clock finishes and you go back and have a shower. And you have to win.
Yeah, exactly right. And the other thing is you can start manipulating the rules to win. Whereas on the street, you can't manipulate the rules to win. There's only one way to win. And so
I think we've seen that with the evolution of sport jiu-jitsu now. And they're trying to claw it back, and it's very difficult to do because they've taken the rule so far. Now, you know,
you get people trying to get the other person to DQ themselves.
It's awful. But and, you know, they've seen with the stalling and the 50-50 guard, and they're like, how can we fix it? And, you know, it's not a simple fix.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be complex, isn't it? Look what happened to judo. You know, judo's just, you know, unfortunately a beautiful art has just gone downhill because of convoluted rules and rule changes and politics and bullshit. And, you know, my biggest fear is, you know, there was that big push to get jiu-jitsu in the Olympics, and I was totally against that because the same thing would happen. You know, they'd be like, you know, let's dumb it down to make it more entertaining, and then it becomes ridiculous, and, you know, we can't let people choke each other because, you know, it doesn't look good on TV, and
and can't afford the bribes, and
exactly right. So,
but you find people taking up that martial art to be an Olympian, not to be like a good self-defense sort of fighter.
Exactly right. I mean,
I think too, one thing that what I found with BJJ that sets it apart is when you have a traditional martial art, people automatically think it's very stuffy, you know, very hidebound traditionalist and everything, and there are very traditional elements of BJJ, but there's also, you know, occasional dick joke. You know,
exactly.
You're not turning up and having to call everyone sensei, senpai, sir,
Professor.
Professor's
about as complicated. Well, I mean, at your gym, it's coach.
Yeah.
But usually it's D or dickhead or whatever.
But so you tell everyone who first gets there, you call everyone coach, but once you've been there for a few weeks, you realise that everyone's on a first-name basis because we have that brotherhood attitude there where everyone's friends with everyone. It's more
and everyone's a student, everyone's a teacher.
You'll fucking call me coach.
You call me daddy.
But I think also, I remember one thing Sean Black told me, and I still remember it. The unique part about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that there's such a high amount of touch, and that's one of the senses that you have to trust someone when you're in such close contact with them, because you're doing shit that in a realistic situation will break bones, will rupture joints, and you trust that person not to do that to you, and they give you the same trust in return.
Did you hear that, Polaris?
You're nose to nose with that person.
Yeah, exactly. And Polaris, fantastic at heel hooks. I wouldn't want to train with a bastard. I'd want to learn from him.
That's someone who doesn't do sport jiu-jitsu.
He does sport jiu-jitsu.
Very dedicated.
But he doesn't do sport jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's cripple jitsu.
Yeah. But you can't have an ego when you're in there, because if you do, eventually someone's going to decide to show you why that's a bad idea.
Exactly right.
But the amount of trust that happens naturally between people who are training in such close proximity.
And you're exactly right. And that trust is a delicate state too on the mat and in the gym. And that's, you know, my focus of pretty much the later stage of this year, as we run out of this year, was to make sure that we had that in the gym, and that, we didn't let anyone come in or any bad attitude sort of surface that would, break those trusts, or, you know, make people start to worry about who they're grappling and that, because then everyone's growth slows down, you know, your learning slows down, people don't want to train with that guy, you start getting those little eeks of, you know, dissension in the ranks and stuff like that, and that's
something I had to be very careful of when I started too, because, you know, being a 140 kilo white belt when I started, that to me, that's the most dangerous person there, because they don't know what they're doing. If they slip, they fall on somebody, that hurts. So I had to be very conscious of it, and I go, all right, I'll start on my back. I'm not going to put any pressure on anybody. And we, spoke about Tracy before. Tracy's 45-kilo woman who I was knee riding. She goes, Heath, what are you doing? That's not a knee ride. Put some pressure in it. I'm like, I could kill her.
I think she called you a pussy.
Yeah, she did. So it's that kind of, you got to be careful with it and building that trust up until a couple of years later, you go against people and they trust you to go full pace.
Yeah, exactly right.
You can't do it.
But in saying that, you're probably a rarity, I'd say. Like, there wouldn't be many guys who'd come in at your size at that time and have that kind of body control and awareness. You're a bit of a special person.
Until a bit of claret comes out, and then
yeah. You called me what?
I've been pretty lucky. I haven't bled that often. I used to get blood noses every time I trained up in Sydney, but yeah, there you go. Maybe I learnt something.
That's all the box cutters up there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sydney guys, I love you very much.
All right, so back with the explosion of tournaments. It's also in the last couple of years we've seen overseas in here as well the introduction of more sub-only tournaments.
Yeah,
do you like that better?
Definitely, yeah, love it. The one thing is, it can lead you down that path of, forgetting top position, I think. Like, you're happy to get swept. You don't really care too much. But in saying that, it's not such a biggie because, it's all about the sub and that's really what I'm all about and what I like my guys to be all about. So, yeah, hunting the sub is the thing. I guess, thinking about some other ways they could maybe get the guys to get after it a bit more, maybe offer a purse for sub of the night or... Yeah. Like a 5-minute, red zone at the end where, maybe they, get a bigger purse if they hit the sub in that particular time frame or something. Idea. I'm not sure, but, there's got to be ways to really encourage the guys to just leave it on the mat and throw everything at the sub, and just get after it. So,
like we were saying on one of the other episodes, I think it was Gary Tonin, the only person that's had subbed every match that he's had in.
I think he's 2 from 2.
2 from 2.
Yeah.
Meta Morris. And we're saying that, in my opinion, for at least one of the matches, which obviously should be the headliner, there should be no limit because you're going to have people who are first getting introduced to Jiu-Jitsu who are going to watch the time-limited matches, and that's going to be their introduction. But you still have to cater for the people who are already experienced in Jiu-Jitsu, and they want to see a match end in a sub, and they don't mind waiting as long as it takes because...
Well, I think that was a Hickson quote, wasn't it? When he said, if I dump in the middle of the ocean and I tell you I'm coming back in a day, you'll hang out those 24 hours. Yeah. But if you dump in the middle of the ocean and say... nothing, just leave. They might last 3 hours before they die.
It's an old quote. Yeah,
exactly right. And you could have those no time limit matches, and the other thing will come into it. Like if the guy with lesser technique can hold out, maybe he's got more stamina. And that's I was always told by Sean was if you lose because you ran out of gas, that's worse than getting tapped. So we always probably not that much back then, but at the time it seemed like we were focusing on our conditioning a lot. Not compared to these days, obviously, but
Friday night beers.
It was always a part though. If you lost or you were beaten in a self defense situation because you gassed, that's you've let yourself down. So that's probably going to be a part of those no time limit matches. That if the guy with less technique, the one you thought would lose easily, can just stave off the other guy. And expose his lack of gas, well, that's another way to win, So,
But I think when it gets down to that point too, you see who wants it more. Like the guy that can, guy or girl that can dig that little bit deeper and just give that last little bit of strength. And you got to respect that. Like, and win or lose, you see them.
Yeah, you can see it in the other person who mentally taps.
Yes,
they've already given us an excuse. Just get me something.
And that's why I think the women do a better job in those situations because they've got less to lose from a career perspective because their jiu-jitsu for females isn't as highly watched as it is for males. And so it's in their better interest to put on the best show they can, even if they lose. Whereas the men got reputations.
And just quietly, do you guys know any women that like to lose?
No way.
I think not just being okay with losing, but I think a lot of women have a lot more self-respect in their own competitiveness, especially when they're rolling with blokes they are dating. We saw Anne-Marie in her grading recently, her opening gambit, instead of going for the takedown with her loving husband, she went for the face slap.
Yeah.
And that was fucking brilliant.
Slapped his face, like, just to get him going, and then took him down on his neck. It was super impressive.
And that sort of, and like, you know, she'd give up quite a few inches in height to Grant, but the confidence she was able to bring forward and the aggressiveness, I think,
in the last round of her grading too.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
so 20 odd minutes into it.
yeah, so she's, for the people that don't know, she's grappled 20 people. You know, by that time you are knackered. You are so damn tired. You're sweating. You don't even know how many people you're gone. Don't know how many people you've got to go.
Up.
Yeah, and then you look up and there's your partner, and it's like, last one. They're the last person standing in your way, and she just left it all on the mat.
She ate him up.
There was everything in that slap too. It wasn't for show. It was a slap. It was full blooded.
In fairness, he took it well.
He did take it
started
well.
pissing himself laughing. He loved it.
Anywhere else it's domestic violence. Here it's just an opening gambit.
Yeah,
But,
no, it was good. It's,
yeah.
and it's another, you know, awesome part of our club where, you know, we've got husbands and wives training together. We've got, you know, you guys are brothers training together. Me and my
Brother,
partner.
family, fantastic.
Brings the kids.
Yeah,
Kids.
you know, whole families training on the mat. Next year we've got some of the mums and dads of our kids that train joining in. So
Generations.
You have a strong junior class, don't you? Like you got a lot of young kids who've joined the club.
yeah, we've got about what are we up to? Probably about 35, 40 kids at the moment.
Shit, that's really good.
And we run two different classes: a young group and a senior group.
What's the youngest that you accept enrollments?
Well, we look at kids around 5.
I got a 4-year-old in there.
Yeah. Like I said, you know,
Broke the mold.
Kids are different. Kids, you know, all kids are different. Some 5-year-olds are, you know, quite mature for their age. Some are just like still running around banging into walls. So we sort of look at them at that age and decide at the time, you know, whether they're going to get anything out of it. So, but the younger kids, it's all about movement for them and getting them just to move right and work proper posture and you know, basically preparing them body-wise for the next stage, which will be, you know, starting to really get the technique going and stuff like that. So,
especially in Australian Jiu-Jitsu, because it hasn't been around here for that long, they're the scary ones because they're going to be, you know, starting at such a young age. Whereas like everyone else, you know, might have started in their 20s and, or, you know, for us, you know, really took it seriously in our 30s.
Yeah.
It's those guys are just going to be on a different level.
Well, you think of anyone 20 plus who BJJ was their first martial art, and there's not that many.
No.
Most people started with something else and transitioned to BJJ for whatever reason. But you're going to get kids starting, and that's their primary art from day one.
Yeah.
They're going to be beasts.
Like, that's going to be their AFL.
well,
Yeah, exactly so.
I mean, you guys have seen Lilith roll, my daughter, and she's fought in quite a few comps, and she's actually at 13 years old won quite a few adult women's comps. Yeah. And she's sponsored as well.
I've seen her roll. I keep ducking her at class, but I've seen her roll.
Give the sponsor a plug.
Yeah, Megami Jiu-Jitsu. That's Esther's brand. Great geese, t-shirts.
We'll put a link up on our website after this podcast as well.
Yeah. So.
And the thing the initiative that I like seeing in Australia was the Girls in Gi, where they'd get you explain what it is. The Girls in Gi, where they do training camps, yeah.
Yeah, I'll look at the Girls in Gi. It's a cool thing. It was started out by Jess Fraser. It's basically just a group for ladies to just converse and discuss and workshop and chat and all that sort of stuff and talk about jiu-jitsu issues and just basically strengthen women's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and it's a good inroad for women coming into jiu-jitsu because one of the barriers that a lot of them face is just the physical contact in close quarters with other guys that they don't know.
I think it's important to mention too that these aren't you know, your super butch aggressive women. They're just girls, everyday women, and you know they
all walks of life.
Might be heels and nail polish women. They might be, you know, a bit more sporting.
Some of our guys are heels and nail polish. So
don't judge me. I'm fine.
Yeah, no, that's all good.
I can say a lot of them are, but I mean they run, you know, daytime classes where they have like a creche there, and you know the kids can go there and they roll and they chat, and you know it's really good, and it's overseas as well. You know, it's not just Australia.
It's starting having the States and everywhere else. We actually held, I believe it was the first or the second A-Gig camp at our club, and I think we had 75 women on the mat.
Jeez, wow.
They ended up doing workshops all day. They slept at the gym, got up the next day.
Literally.
No, they did. They slept on the mats. And you know, they ended up training all the next day doing judo and et cetera, and we had food delivered and stuff. So, I mean, that's cool stuff, you know. They're good things for the ladies, and you know, it's empowering and all that sort of stuff. And
and that's what I was going to say before with women doing jiu-jitsu. Even if you never have to use it in any sort of self-defense way, it's a great way to build confidence and to build that ability to interact with other people in close quarters and not feel weird and strange, and you know.
Look, it's got to be better than standing on the friggin' treadmill with a 24-hour gym at 2:30 in the morning.
Some meathead trying to spot you while you're doing your curls.
Exactly right. I mean, you know, how boring to be in the gym doing that stuff when you could be choking the shit out of some other bird.
Oh, babe, do you even?
And the thing is, if your boyfriend doesn't do jiu-jitsu, you could seriously fuck him up.
So get on the mat, lady.
So you could turn your boyfriend into a girlfriend.
So back on the tournament stuff, mixed martial arts. Do you think that's good for jiu-jitsu? Is it the next evolution of jiu-jitsu? Because I mean, it's basically mixed martial arts came from Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you know, and the Gracies, and when they formalized it. You think it's good?
I think it has a place. I think it definitely has a place. I do worry again about culture. I mean,
it starts to get that a little bit meatheady.
You get that meatheady thing. You know, you're teaching fighting skills without the budo, if you like. You know, the martial arts way of life. You know, only using it when necessary, and honor, and you know, all that sort of stuff. And you know, these guys can actually fight. You know, these guys are beasts.
Yeah.
But I worry about where their heads at and stuff. And you know, call me a bit more old school, but I think it was, you know, for me, it was more enjoyable when it was style against style, whereas now they're all the same, and it's more of an absolute sport. You know, it's a proper sport now. So, look, I don't dislike it. It's not something I really get into. I don't mind watching it if there's a good jiu-jitsu player in there and he's going to use jiu-jitsu and not try and box on. Damn, Maya.
Why did Maya want to become a boxer for some reason? I remember there was some.
I think they feel like they want to prove a point.
Yeah,
it's I don't.
They knock one person out and they're like, "Hey, I'm a boxer now."
Yeah,
Roy Nelson.
I'm going to say, but then you get Roy Nelson, who's a world class grappler. You know, and we've seen him compete at is it ADC?
KFC.
No, what was ADCC?
It was ADCC against like Matt Hughes, and you know, wiped the floor with him. And then he wants to go toe to toe with Mark Hunt.
Yep.
How'd that work out for you, Chip?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Again, it's a sport thing, you know. Like they're not. If it was that same old school style martial art, they'd be defending their honor and defending their clubs and their style's honor, and they'd fight in their style. Whereas now they just, you know, they just.
You have to be a genuine mixed martial art.
I think too, though, it's a matter of money and the spectacle. Because if you're out there knocking people out, the average uneducated fan, but the average bloke who drinks his cheap ass beer and likes to yell at the fighters can appreciate a knockout. But when you see, like, remember in when Seven versus Hoist Gracie, the commentator didn't even know what was going on because Hoist Gracie had him in a triangle choke, and the commentator Jim Brown,
Jim Brown was there, but there was another karate guy who was the expert commentator. Jim Brown didn't know.
He got him exactly where he wants him because Seven had top position, which in traditional wrestling, college wrestling was a dominant position. Next, you know, he's tapping, and the commentators had no idea what the fuck was going on.
I think that even then they still called it a shoulder lock, but you know, because they weren't educated. But you know, that's 15, 20 years now. 21 years, I think.
I am old.
Yeah, it's eons ago, right? Yeah.
But I mean, I think obviously that helped fuel the growth of jiu-jitsu, and you know, that's why the UFC started was by the Gracies trying to grow jiu-jitsu.
I think one thing, like you're saying about how you worry about the jiu-jitsu MMA, I think one of the concerning things is that's people's only exposure to jiu-jitsu is from mixed martial arts.
Yeah, that's worrying.
That's where I like Metamoris coming about, and they're working with the similar platform to mixed martial arts, but they're giving people that leeway to go, all right, so we've already got you interested in it from mixed martial arts, but this is what jiu-jitsu is really like. And so I think Metamoris is really important, but they have to do it the right way. And that's why the last card where there weren't many subs, and I mean, you're always going to watch Henzo roll with anybody. I think with Sack should have been the co-headline. They should have had someone else in there, the high-end people who compete BJJ.
Yeah, like a serious hardcore, not just a Legends match kind of thing. Poor old Sack. Like, I love Sack, man.
Everyone loves Sack.
was like a car wreck victim. The poor guy, his body's ruined.
The fighting for grips for like 15 minutes was just...
Poor guy, and he didn't look good afterwards.
No.
He looked like he was in pain.
It's a shame, too, because I remember Sakuraba versus Carlos Newton.
Yeah.
The most technical MMA fight I've ever
In
seen. It
Pride.
was beautiful.
Yeah, only went for about 6 minutes, but it was... both of them looked like they had agreement. No punching? No punching. Let's go. Yeah,
I've never watched it for 6 minutes because I've watched it for about 35 because each time you see something you're like, holy shit, rewind.
Rewind.
All right, here's what happened. He moved. Wow.
Hey, baby, come here for a second.
let me try something on you.
Actually, Jody and myself have a favourite one. What's his name?
North-South.
Josh Eddy,
Diaz and
his dealer.
he went a bit crazy. The guy, I can't remember his name now.
Is that MMA or BJJ?
BJJ guy. It was UFC.
UFC fight.
But
Mitrione.
Nick Diaz.
He's a heavyweight.
what's his name? I can see his face. Anyway, it was same thing, but they were throwing punches. But it was just a great display of controlling with jiu-jitsu and avoiding punches and stuff like that. We watched that one regularly.
Did he fight? Trying to remember who it was.
I said, guys, at the start,
annoying
my
me now.
memory is...
Actually, speaking of...
Who are we?
So's mine.
Speaking of the same camp, how do you feel about when jiu-jitsu players from the same training gym, they end up meeting in the middle of a tournament and they decide, in the finals, and they decide to, no, that's fine, we'll agree, and we'll take the 2 medals, go home, and decide who wins later?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I don't get that. That's a little weird for me.
I've never seen 2 of your fighters do it.
I've seen the offer made by the ref. Are you guys going to fight?
Look, I don't know why they wouldn't fight, and I can only imagine that if my 2 guys shook hands and agreed to walk off, I would just be like, "What?"
They'd only walk into the car park, and that's where the fight was.
Yeah, the next fight would be with me outside. But I don't know. I don't see what that's about. Like I said, it's probably a culture derived in a sporting, a club that deals or trains mainly for sport jiu-jitsu. It's not something I understand. I think if you're going to go in a comp, like I said, we're there to have a crack at each other and see what's going on. And if 2 of my guys get to the final, like, fight it out, boys. Like, leave it on the mat.
Exactly right. And
we're going to cheer for everyone. So
you could tap one guy every day in the gym, but when it gets on the mat in that situation where pressure's involved and there's something on the line, it's all different. And you have to go through that to challenge yourself in those situations to understand how good your game is.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah.
I went into division as a blue belt, and a guy that I used to mop the floor with and teach a lot, I met him in the final, and I gassed, and he got me.
Yep.
And I'd never lost to him before, ever. I never had any trouble with him, and I lost to him in the final, and I learned a big lesson from that.
Yeah, and that's it. And if you had just shook hands and gone back to the mat and taken the gold medal, it's something that you wouldn't have been able to incorporate in your game and train to work harder to get better at when you get back on the mat.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus,
right.
comps are expensive. You want every match you can get, right?
Yeah.
Too right.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, because it's not like, it's a jiu-jitsu match and you're showing each other, showing everybody what you can do and what your school can teach. Why wouldn't you put it on?
And it's probably
put a show.
And the other thing is, it's likely to be a very good match because
They
they
know
both
each
come
other.
from. Yeah, they know each other's games. It's likely to be a very good match.
Yeah, if clubs want to do that, it's fine. We're not saying it's wrong. We're just saying that, why not put on a show?
Yeah.
We're not saying it's wrong.
It is wrong.
It's wrong.
All right, it's wrong.
Yeah. All right, fuck them. They're dickheads then.
Well, you're there to fight, and that's what you're trained to do. And from day one, the 2 jiu-jitsu gyms that I've been at, and from all accounts, everyone, you leave your ego at the door, or you leave your ego at the mat. So if you can't take getting, beaten in front of a crowd, regardless with who your opponent is, then, you're missing the fundamental lesson that's the day dot lesson.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting thing, but, I don't dare to comment too much on it because sport jiu-jitsu is, it's something I enjoy, but...
it's not something that you're going to campaign for.
It's not the be-all and end-all.
It's not the be-all and end-all of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So.
But
Still fun.
It's very fun.
There are some great tournaments up.
Some good ones getting around.
Especially BOA. It's coming up soon too.
Yeah, the BOA competitions are... I haven't actually been to one yet, but they look pretty high level, and the setting looks great. They're pretty fancy. They've got their tables and dinners served, and really nice looking place. And
there's big fights in the crowd. It's in Dandenong.
It's in Malvern Town Hall on February 15th. in 2015, we might be seeing a certain black belt from Perkins Jujitsu there.
Yeah, well, officially, I've received an invite to fight at the next Borough in February.
And put it this way, if it's not on the card, you'll be fighting out the front.
Yeah. If it's not on the card, just make your way to the car park afterwards. No, it's been set up, so I'm still just waiting to finalise the details and stuff. But it looks like I'll be fighting under 70 in the gi versus a very, very good friend of mine and compatriot on the mat, Jamie Murray, who I've fought several times before in some super epic battles too, some really great ones, and I definitely owe him a win for me. So it's 2-1 at the moment, just from memory. So I definitely need that next one. So
and the last time you fought, I've seen the video.
The last time we fought was a little bit of an epic battle.
We're talking 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh,
maybe longer.
No, I don't think it was quite that long ago. It's probably 2 years ago.
2?
Yeah. Look, his half guard on the bottom is insane, and I was struggling. And late in the match, he swept me. To which point I threw my guard in and started working and managed to clip a triangle on. And his response was to stand bolt upright. So I just kept it on and sort of adjusted it and managed to sink it in. But yeah, I was up in the air, which was a little worrying.
You're literally sitting on his shoulders at this point.
Yeah. So, but I had my hips high and I knew I had it locked in, so I knew I could finish it. So, I put his arm across and started really, really squeezing, and I'd left it too late in the match, and his coach yelled out, 10 seconds to go, and I was squeezing, and he was starting to wobble, and the timer ran out, and I jumped off, and his eyes were back in his head, and he was nearly out, but he managed to hold on, so he got that win.
You heard he managed to last to the whistle.
Yeah, and he said to me afterwards, a couple more seconds, and he was toast, but he got the win. He's a tough fighter, Jamie, and I really look forward to rolling with him again, and getting out there on a big stage and having some fun. So
it's a shame he's such a nice guy, because then you can hate him and you'll put more into the fight. But at the same time, that's jiu-jitsu, isn't it?
Yeah, we can talk some shit on here and get a bit of leverage first.
Look, I'd love to be able to talk shit about him, but look, in all honesty, Jamie's he's one of my jiu-jitsu heroes, to be honest. His culture at his club and the way he runs things is. It's been a standard for me. It's been a bit of an inspiration for me as well. So I love the fact I get to fight him, and it's again going back to that honesty between people when they roll.
Yep.
This is where it's going to be for us, and we'll be able to leave it on the mat and go hard as hell. But at the end, the winner. Really, if I could lose to anyone, I don't mind losing to Jamie. So, not that I'm going to lose Jamie, just so you know. But, it's going to be a good fight, and I love the guy, so I'm really looking forward to it. So.
We're going to put a little bit of extra sauce on this match. We're going to put a bit of side bets there.
Right.
Both your club and Jamie's club, Renegade, have the black and green. Is somebody going to have to go pink if they lose?
So I'll go the fluoro yellow mankini, I reckon.
So who's going to have to wear a wig? Because we can't have hair versus hair if they're both bald, so we've got to go the other way.
I'm not entering into this at all.
Good, then we'll sign you up for it, whatever we feel like. Well, I mean,
the good thing about matchups like that, where you've got a history of putting on good fights, is that you don't need to hate each other. It doesn't have to need to be animosity. It's a fight that people would know from history. It's going to be an awesome matchup, and you're going to see a very technical and a very high level jiu-jitsu fight. Yeah,
look, I hope so. We've always gone at it like cats and dogs when we fight, and I think it's just again, it just comes down to that. We're happy to do that with each other. We're not worried that the other person's going to do something dumb, and
crack the shits or anything like
that.
Crack
the shits or break something off, or it's
looking
just
to make a name for themselves from one fight or anything like that.
Yeah. So look, I'm pretty happy to fight him, and it should be a good match. So. And also rep the club, we rep the club, which is a great thing. I get to rep the club at my age, which had, again, I'm not super huge on sport jiu-jitsu, but,
it's important from a club.
Exactly right.
Promotion
getting it out there,
exactly right.
And also testing yourself, not just jiu-jitsu, but your resolve, just how to front up the person and say, let's go.
And it's fun because it becomes goal-based training again. It's not just the mundane. So now I've got a thought in mind. I've got a got something coming up. So now when I hit the mat, I've got a purpose, and all my guys have already shown that they're happy to help me out.
And you've only just started back competing again, haven't you? You had a few injuries, and so you competed at the last, was it Vic Championships or was it?
Yeah, I competed at the Vic. The state championships just passed
back in June, I think.
Yeah, and I actually got
well
bumped up. Yeah, I got bumped up 2 weight divisions. There's
standard for you little
yeah,
fellas.
pretty standard for smaller guys.
Had to account for the ego.
Yeah, you say ego, I say penis, but
suck my ego.
I ended up managing to get the gold at that one, so that was my first
undefeated as a black belt, is what you're saying.
Undefeated as a black belt, I'll take that. I was pretty happy with that win because
Take note, Brian.
it's always good to win in front of your guys. So that's a knee ride for you, by the way. It's always good to win in front of your boys. I'm lucky. I've had more good wins in front of my guys than I have losses. So.
And that builds character in your club as well, you know what I mean? They get a best interest, and everyone loves seeing the coach do well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I tell you, the coach hates not doing well in front of his guys. I can tell you that. That's not a good feeling.
It's like the coach's challenge on the Ultimate Fighter, where it's only 10 grand, but the team fucking loves it when their coach gets up.
Doesn't matter if they're playing ping pong or volleyball or what.
One thing I do love is how involved the whole team is in the fights. It's not just supporting your club mate or teammate or whatever. It's also trying to get the best zinger.
Yeah.
Like, you see, I remember seeing, I think it was young Cameron Byrne, trying to put a triangle on. And I can't remember who it was. Someone yelled out, "Put your dick in his armpit." And you see him look across and go, "Oh, yeah." And then you try to sing it in. But, just getting that one zinger in, and the whole crowd sort of turns and goes, "What the fuck?"
Golf clap. Oh, yeah, that was right.
Yes, that makes sense.
But then you kind of see them go, "Oh, those pricks."
Yeah. And I've been working on my zingers and my one-liners as a coach, and I do just come out with some beauties while I'm coaching guys. I think the best one was recently with Jean, who dominated at the Pampax. One of our blue belts just put on a show, and he ended up mounting the guy who was killing everyone else. And I remember yelling out, "Stay there, sign the lease, baby." And I just kind of thought to myself, where the hell did that come from?
the things you say in the heat of the moment.
I know, right? I have said that a few times in the bedroom since then, but no.
That's how you got the lease signed, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
Don't know what Jean was doing in there, but
passing my guard as usual. So
and the thing is, get rid of him. Especially with watching jiu-jitsu, even the spectators get white line fever. It's like they've crossed the pitch onto the mat, and it doesn't matter even if you know nothing about jiu-jitsu, you'll be in there yelling and trying to give advice.
the best ones are people you obviously have no idea, and they're like, do something. Or,
I love it when you're under mount or something. They go, "Get out of there!" I'm like, "Yeah,
Shit.
no fucking shit, I'll get out of there."
Yeah.
I've got him right where I want him.
Get out of there. Why didn't I think of that?
Well, I mean, back to the big fight with Jamie at Boa, February 15. We'll put links up and all that kind of stuff. Officially, unofficially. It's about as big as a stage as jiu-jitsu gets in Australia. It's going to be live streamed. So it's a good chance for a sponsor to get on board, isn't it?
Look, I'm an old man. Sponsors are always great. They they help each other out. Obviously, back and forth, the club and the person and the sponsor. But
we're only talking about one sponsor here.
Yeah, look,
we're only looking at one sponsor.
There's only one sponsor that I like, that I'd want, and just quietly, Bull Terrier. Your geese rock. They fit me perfect. I love you. I actually breed Bull Terriers.
I say
A Bull Terrier ate my last Bull Terrier gi. So if you can't sponsor me for that, there's a problem.
I've written to the Bull Terrier Facebook page about it. No response yet. So this is how we're going to get it going. A1?
A1, guys.
A1 size.
Black flame on. That's the one I want, the flames.
If you can't think of a better person to sponsor, if you're a Bull Terrier, one, runs your own gym, the best person you can get off the mat as he is on it in the biggest event in jiu-jitsu in Australia. I mean, he breeds fucking Bull Terriers.
Look, I'm just going to go back and say again, a Bull Terrier ate my Bull Terrier gi. That's a phenom. That's never happened anywhere ever.
Mind you, if they do come aboard and sponsor and they send a white gi, fucking off.
Oh yeah, no.
No, it's
And
black. It has to be
Probably
black.
get rid of Maluko and change it to Deon, the pit bull terrier.
What's with you guys in the pitbull,
I don't know. I just went in my head. So yeah, we got to get Bull Terrier on board.
It's a random idea.
It has to happen. So how are Bella and what's your other
Benny.
Benny?
Yeah, Benny and Bella. It's really hard to yell out when they run away because you're kind of going, Bellella, Benella, Borella, fucking dog.
And they usually are fucking.
Well, that's the whole point,
That's what a
isn't it?
breeding pair does.
That's the whole
Pretty
point.
much. Oh, look, they're great. They wreck everything. My house is a wreck. They ate the Xbox just recently.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, Bull Terriers, they're robust, man. They're a full-on dog. So,
So yeah, Bull Terrier geese, get on board because we got the man for you.
Yeah, and just make sure it's a black gi, not a white.
got to be
one.
black.
Black A1
Black.
Bull Terrier.
So,
Unless you get like an A2 jacket, so you can do the sleeveys.
You'll be swimming in an A2 jacket.
Yeah, no, you can do some awesome sleeve chokes from across the room.
well, I've actually just ordered an A2 jacket, A1 pants from Raven.
Oh, really? A2 jacket now?
Well, I just wanted
Been
to
doing
try
the
it.
bicep curls.
Just want to try it.
Been doing the bench press.
I find the pants fit beautifully, but the jackets are a little tight in the shoulders. So.
Oh, there you are.
How do you pronounce your nickname, Maluko?
Maluko.
Maluko.
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
In my head, I always see it. Deon, Maluko. Perkins.
Gonzalez.
No, let me
Lovato.
get his name. Oh, what's his name?
No, it's French.
All right. After a little research break there, your nickname, Maluko? Have I got that right?
Malucho.
That's about as good as I pronounce it. Yeah.
It's hard to do Portuguese with a country twang.
Exactly right. Yeah, with an Adelaide lisp.
So how did Maluko come about?
It was pretty interesting actually because we were joking. Me and a good friend and training partner Julian were joking sort of earlier on in the previous months about gee, I wish we really had one of those Portuguese nicknames. Like a proper jiu-jitsu player. And, we were being silly and giving ourselves nicknames or whatever. And anyway, we ended up doing a seminar with Rafael Gordo at my coach's club, Peter DeBean's club in St Kilda. And it was packed to the hilt and we were grappling. And this guy, Gordo, his mount is just the most... I've never felt pressure like that in my life. Yeah. This guy could tap you just by sitting on the mount. Yeah. It was fucked, for want of a better word. And... he would drive his arse bones up under your ribs and just kill you. This guy could just kill you with his mount, and he was basically destroying everyone in the gym. And I ended up sort of rolling with him, and he got mount. We started with him on mount, and I wanted to test the way I defend and escape mount, and I found that I could actually do it. I was defending it well, and I was escaping it well, and to his surprise and mine, funnily enough, and. I felt pretty good about that, and I was happy with myself, and I was sort of the belief I had in my defense and escape system was consolidated through that, so I was happy with that. And at the end of the seminar, he was addressing the group and and he goes, only one of you guys understood how to escape the mount properly, and he pointed me out in a group of 15 black belts and stuff, and I was only a brown at the time, and I just shrank down. I was like, oh my God, holy shit. And then at the end, we sort of finished up, and I went to shake his hand to say thank you for the techniques and the training, and he was there chatting away with my coach in Portuguese, and obviously I don't understand any of it, but I knew they were talking about me, and I heard the word Maluko come up, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at my coach Pete, and I'm sort of hang on, what's going on here? And Pete turns to me and he goes, oh, look, he thinks you've got crazy eyes, like you're a crazy person, Maluko. And I was like...
Story checks out.
I'll take that. So,
called worse.
It's stuck, yeah. So, Maluko it is, so...
So have you ever put it into Google Translate just to make sure he wasn't bullshitting?
Yeah, it doesn't mean, man whore or, infected corpse or anything like that, which would be cool. You're Googling it now.
I'm just double checking.
Yeah,
apparently no, it's twat face.
Twat face, okay. Yeah, well, I'll wear that. No, it just crazy apparently. So,
legit means madman.
Madman.
That's
crazy,
even better.
Crazy, daft, or madman.
Madman. I'll take that.
Hey, 3 from 3.
3 from 3, mate. I'm in. So anyway, that's how that happened. And
so did Julian end up getting a Brazilian nickname or?
No, unfortunately, it was only me that night. But
If you escape mount, he might have fucking got one.
Yeah. Work your mount escapes, Jules.
There has been a lot of
Controversy or talk?
anger or, hurt feelings, I suppose, about when you have a student that obviously a coach puts a lot of time into, and for whatever reason they decide to transition to another gym. Do you think that can be done? Well, do you think it can be done well? And
Is there an etiquette to it?
Yeah, is there a way to do it that doesn't make you come off as a creonche?
And first of all, if anybody calls you a creonche, does that automatically make them just somebody you don't want to associate yourself with?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've had people. I've had students leave my gym to go to other gyms, but some were for what I like to think are valid reasons. Others, not so valid reasons. So, if you're training somewhere and you move houses and you end up, you got to drive an hour to get there. That's life. That's got to be looked at. That's life. Life changes and things happen, and
family and that. Too.
Also, if it turns out that the coach maybe isn't, treating you appropriately, or you're not getting what you want out of the jiu-jitsu, like truthfully not getting what you want out of training, it's another reason why not, right?
Or if he's too good looking, that can happen.
That's happened before to me, but that's another story.
At the end of the day, where you train, it's your choice, isn't it?
Exactly right. Yeah. Where you train is your choice. I tell everyone who walks in my gym, if you're not happy where you're training, then why are you training there? And that includes us. Like, if we're not getting what you want from us, find somewhere where you are getting what you want. Life's too short to spend your time wasting it.
Yeah,
so
I find it funny the people that complain about people leaving out their gym, but they're more than happy to accept somebody else coming into their gym. I mean, it's both ways.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
But, people come and go, and that's the way it is.
I guess the big issue I have with it is going back to what we were talking about before, as far as sport and martial art, and when I started training martial arts, you found your coach, you found your club. It may take a bit of time to find the right one, but when you're there, you commit and you're loyal, and you're loyal to your club and to your coach. So
and to yourself,
to yourself, exactly right. And I see a lot of guys these days going, I'm going to train here for a few months, and then I'm going to move on to the next club and see if I can get something from that's going to help me in tournaments. And it becomes almost like football bloody
teams.
What do you call it? Like, what do they do? Trading season,
Yeah.
draft season.
Yeah.
And it's like that's ridiculous. That's like you're letting your team down, you're letting your coach down, you're letting yourself down. There's no loyalty in it. And again, it leads back to that thing. It's not a sport; it's a martial art. So that's really the main issue I have with it. If you leave on legitimate reasons, that's fair enough. Life gets in the way and happens sometimes. But if you're leaving because you think you can avoid hard work, that's the one that irks me. It's like, man, if you think you can go over to this other club and they're going to teach you a magic trick that's going to make you win gold, that's just bullshit. You're cheating yourself. You're lying to yourself.
Yep.
There's no substitute for mat fitness.
Yeah, hit the mat, hard work, time on the mat. Talk to your coach, talk to your peers.
And also, plenty of places will say, we can teach you to work smarter. And that's fine. But if you can work smarter and harder, you'll be much better off anyway. Yeah.
I mean, I think back to a bit of a thing that was getting around on Facebook of there was a video of a karate club, and the guys in it were, they weren't the fittest dudes, and their technique was, wow, it was pretty bad. But, and everyone was laughing at them and saying, oh, look at these bozos and all the rest of it. But you know what? Maybe their technique was crap. Maybe they were fat and useless and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, I guarantee they were a loyal club. They looked like a loyal bunch of dudes. And they were serious about what they did, and there was a lot of respect going on and all that stuff. So regardless of how maybe inept they were at their style, they were there every day and they were loyal to their club and their coach and each other. So
if they're enjoying it, then that's it, isn't it?
Right, exactly right. Who's to say they're not killing it? Like
if martial art doesn't build character, isn't that sort of the primary purpose of it, to improve yourself?
Exactly,
kick somebody's ass.
Well, in my opinion, I think that, like we were saying before, you got to find a club that suits you, that suits what you want to get out of jiu-jitsu and your character and who you are as a person. But I think once you've found that place, it's okay to go and train with other people and try and further your education. But you always got to bring that home to the club that you call home.
Too right. My partner said it best. Jodie said it best. She said, "Roll with everyone you can, but you train with your club."
Yeah, because the way I look at it is if you teach someone how to drive a car, you can't tell them where they can and can't drive that car.
Yeah.
But that car always comes back to the garage.
Comes back to the
I see
same.
where you're going.
That was kind of weird, but yeah, okay.
Wasn't a whole lot of thought in that one. About 3 beers.
I was more thinking about, once you've got a missus, you can still
I see where
Drive
this
your
is
car.
you still drive your
to
car to
strippers?
various areas of King Street, and you still end up coming home in that car.
and parking your car in her garage.
So is that
Sleeping on the couch.
on that? Is that a legitimate reason to leave? Is you know,
Strippers.
there's a lot of guys that come to jiu-jitsu because they're single, and then all of a sudden they find a girl, and you don't see them as often anymore.
The wombats with our mates.
Jimmy. Nah, look, and that's a part of jiu-jitsu, like finding the relationship. It's great seeing the young guys, they get especially the guys that are at uni and they're struggling with uni and working their asses off, and they're still trying to squeeze the jiu-jitsu in. Then they find a girl, and that's all part of it. To me that's part of jiu-jitsu. That the outside stuff has to fit with the jiu-jitsu stuff, and that's that lifestyle we talk about. And they might take a bit of time off the mat, but they always come back to it. And their girlfriend is actually their mistress, and jiu-jitsu is actually their girlfriend.
Yeah. Because it is
Fucking
like family.
remember that.
Well, half the time, jiu-jitsu is the reason they get a girlfriend. I mean, or the reason they don't need one if you're flexible enough.
Flexible enough. Yeah.
Wow.
I keep falling off the lounge.
So how long did it take Richard?
Back to Richard.
Back to Richard. It always ends up back to Richard. He's just happy to be talked about.
Yeah, Megan can do better.
Mate, I think all our misses could do better, let's be honest.
We said we need lots of dick jokes, so...
Like I say, I was at the wind up. What was it, last weekend or the weekend before? There's a lot of guys at the jiu-jitsu club punching much above their weight. I mean,
There is some beautiful ladies as partners. I don't know what fucking lies you lot are telling them, but
Lots.
wow. Yeah. You guys got money or something going on, like inheritance coming, because, man,
look around you. We don't have money. It's not that.
man.
Lies we've got plenty of.
Neither of my girlfriend's parents speak English, so I think that's what's got me in the
Neither of
house
your
so far.
girlfriends. How many girlfriends you got?
Neither of
Neither
your
of parents.
girlfriend's parents. Yes, the plural was on parents, not on girlfriends.
Yeah, you fucking...
Fucking on program, man.
Dear, oh dear.
I love you, baby.
So awful. All right, as we draw to the end, another plug for PerkinsJujitsu.com. We'll put links up on the Facebook page and everything like that. But for somebody that's thinking about jiu-jitsu, what do you think is the biggest hurdle to getting started? And what would you say for somebody that's coming in for their first class?
Besides tying your belt.
Tying your belt's tricky. You'll learn to do that because it'll come off a lot. Look, stepping in and onto the mat the first time is probably, a big hurdle.
It's intimidating.
And there's also that initial sort of smothering and uncomfortableness you get when you're on the bottom and you're getting squished and you can't move. You don't understand how to get out from that position. And I remember that vividly. And it's very claustrophobic, and all your animal instincts kick in, and you just want to claw and bite and scream and scratch and do everything to get out from under there. And it's a very humbling thing to have to say to the guy, dude, let me out. Like, I can't get out, let me out.
Not from submission, but from just...
From
not being
sheer
able to-
panic. Yeah, sheer panic. And that's when you start really looking deep down inside yourself and finding what you've got, and that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu and being put in those seriously uncomfortable positions where, you almost can't breathe, and, you find yourself comfortable there and at peace there, and you're able to hang on until you can escape, and that takes a lot of time to develop.
Yeah.
You guys have no clue what I'm talking about.
No, absolutely.
I'm just waiting for Brenton to make a dick joke. That's all.
I was going to say, like in the back of a Volkswagen.
No, I think
Thank you, Morats.
Well, like I said, it transitions everywhere, so,
I think to a lot of you see a lot of people start and they get like 2, 3, 4 months in, and then they just sort of disappear because it is a very steep learning curve initially, because you don't realise how good you've gotten until the next batch comes through.
Oh, too right,
'Cause
yeah.
The new guys come in and they're like, oh, I'm getting pumped by everyone again. And then all of a sudden the new fresh batch of newbies comes in and they're like, holy fuck, I'm smoking these guys.
Yeah, exactly right. And, it comes to, even things like, we were always reminded by my first coach, Sean, that just our physical conditioning, is gonna bode well on the street against just a regular human,
Yep.
and that's technique aside, so that you don't realise that until maybe you do end up in an altercation. And I know I have, and I've sort of just come to, I realised very quickly on in the altercation that, man, I can do this all day. This guy's already puffing. Like, I'm going to wear it, he's going to wear down in 5 minutes, and I'm just going to eat this boy up. Like,
It's dealing with that adrenaline dump.
Yeah,
because to be a foot away from a bloke who is going to try and hurt you.
Yeah,
in training, you're used to that.
You do it all the time. I mean,
yeah.
There's been several situations where I've not, had to really use heaps of jiu-jitsu, but just the training side of it and the calmness and the, being comfortable with those horrible, uncomfortable positions. I just almost feel bad for the dude. Like, like, mate, this isn't even phasing me, and I can see that your eyes are big as dinner plates and you're biting your tongue off kind of thing. And I'm like relaxed as hell. Like,
it's after that first 30 seconds where he's gone hell for leather and you've just held. You're like, right, guys, now I'm ready.
Yeah. So, as a beginner, just persevere and get into it. And once you sort of find your groove and stuff, that's when the enjoyment will start coming through, and you'll feel the movement and the beautiful shapes and movement you can get out of jiu-jitsu. And then also, when you go home and you can beat the shit out of your siblings and,
Oh, I heartily endorse that.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are all pretty...
And when I can actually do it, I'll really love it too.
Is that from the youngest perspective, just pick the side of the person who's winning.
Looks like they're winning.
If they start losing, you're fucked.
So you got to hitch yourself to the right wagon.
Yeah, pretty much.
And jiu-jitsu is always the right wagon.
But even when we're talking about when you first get on the mats and that, I think that one of the keys is, and not just with jiu-jitsu, but with any sport or anything that you do, is to set goals that are realistic. But your goal doesn't have to be to make that person tap. Your goal can be to escape mounting to side control from someone who's got a very strong mount. And I think by setting those goals and achieving those little things, you get something out of each session without being sort of having a detrimental effect from being tapped constantly over and over.
Yeah, it's small steps at the beginning. It's very small steps.
My first year at Perkins, I remember, about 2 weeks in, I thought, I don't have to do this, Like, we're doing hip outs down the mat, and it's fucking hard because I hadn't done jiu-jitsu for 10 years, hadn't done anything really physical for 10 years. And it's just that point you go, right, okay, my goal is I'm just going to train. So that was it. I didn't care what I did. It's just I'm going to rock up. If I'm tired, I'm rocking up. If it's raining, I got to catch 2 trains to get here and walk down from the station. I rock up.
I will not quit.
Yeah. And that then a year in, you go, shit. I can actually start to do things. I start doing those stupid cartwheels and all that kind of stuff. And I remember the first time I did a cartwheel at training, I was so proud of myself.
Oh, mate, I remember the whole gym erupted. It was we loved it.
I shouldn't. I'm 32 years old at that stage. I shouldn't be this excited about a cartwheel, but that's what it is. That was my goal, and once you can achieve it, you go, hey, now I'm in love with jiu-jitsu, and I'm doing it because I want to do jiu-jitsu. There's I'm not doing it for self-defense.
Your 4-year-old daughter was spitting him out like nothing.
Yeah, exactly right. Actually, she's still terrible at cartwheels. I can kick her ass.
Just quietly, Hunter and Steph have really good back takes now from half guard. Just saying. We've been working on that.
Yeah, his Kimura's shit, though.
And Hunter doesn't like telling anybody about that.
Fuck's sake, when did they come out from class? Dad, today what we did was Deon showed us, we did side control, and here, I'll show you. And then, okay, champ,
Hang on, come here, I'll show you.
You see him get so excited too, though, because he leans forward, he's like, and then, this is what happened!
He's got a good memory on him, though.
Mate, and they're picking it up very quickly, and it's awesome to see kids that young just holding on to a little bit of technique, like I try not to overkill them with technique because, they're young. They're not going to hold on to heaps of it. But when they do hold on to a little bit of it, it's fantastic when they come back the next week and they've still remembered it. So
all the fathers out there, teach your daughter jiu-jitsu because, let's be honest, you don't want her going anywhere near a bloke until she's 54.
You want the shotgun to be the second line of defense.
Yeah, exactly. Slash the pill, whatever.
But I think with kids doing jiu-jitsu, there's a fear from lots of uninformed parents that might make them aggressive or bullies in schoolyards and things like that. But I find that it actually makes them more disciplined and puts them in a state where they don't actually fight. They learn the value of
the Gracie Bully Proof program. I think is one of the best things I've ever put out.
Too right. And going on what you were saying then, in the schoolyard, what the bullies that they tend to pick on the kids that they can smell the fear and the lack of confidence, in the water, and the vulnerability. So if your kid's training jiu-jitsu or any kind of martial art, as long as they're not being taught to be dicks or be bullies themselves, if they just exude a quiet confidence, then the bullies tend to steer clear, and that's really important, especially these days where the bullying's rife in schools, and I'm a big advocate of anti-bullying and stuff. So
I find that they actually carry that confidence into other parts of their life as well. It's not just in the a confrontational side of things; it's in social environments. And
exactly
like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly right.
I think it's important, especially at young ages, to instill that, not so much a authoritarian discipline, but a learned discipline where they enjoy doing what they're doing and learn to pay attention and be respectful.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
And I think it's important to note too that it's not like people who do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can be from any background, any social class, any job. We've got uni students to lawyers, literally, that are on the mat, and
unemployed bums.
Those two, but it doesn't
Sometimes
matter.
On the mat.
It doesn't matter who you are. You can still learn more about yourself, and you can learn about yourself by training in martial art.
Yeah,
and you can
It's
learn
very non-biased. So
and you can learn how you actually deal with adversity and struggle in that, without putting yourself in a situation where there's going to be a detrimental effect to that adversity and struggle, because you can tap and get out of it.
Yeah.
But you get up and you try again, and you learn resilience, and you learn to build character.
And if you can learn a dick joke or two on the way, it's even better.
I think that comes with blue belt, doesn't it? Dick joke.
No, I was mastering it at white, quite clearly.
yeah,
You're a bit
actually
ahead of the
always
game,
been
though.
pretty good at it.
It's the dad jokes that come with blue belt.
If you like, unless you can pass the guard, you're going to be a dad, aren't you?
Yeah, it's pretty much how it worked for me. So trying to show
I
every time I tried to show Jody a new technique, we had another child. So
I struggled to escape from Mount.
That's something you can tell that how well you've taken to jiu-jitsu. You're not only running your own place, but you breathe like a fucking Gracie.
You've got 3 generations of champions in the making.
pretty much, yeah. I've got my 6 beautiful children. My son Zane, who's 19 and thinks we're homos. Close. No, he's an IT guy, so he does his thing, which is great.
A nerd, so he's half jiu-jitsu.
He's half jiu-jitsu. We'll get him there one day. Zandia, who's she loves her horse riding and stuff like that. She's not really into it. Bethany, who was doing it for some time, she was really, really good at it and actually dealt with some bullies at school using jiu-jitsu and defended herself against large groups that attacked her. Yeah, wow. Which was really...
Got to be happy with that one.
I was very happy with that one. And then Lilith, as I said before, who's she's a gun, and
some of those tournaments against adults, I still watch.
She's got super heaps of potential, and she'll go far as long as we can keep her on track. And then Violet and Evelyn, they're still quite young, 7 and 8. And they fight as often as they can, and I've got to say,
they're not shy in the gym either. Violet and Evelyn, it's fantastic. They're always running and jumping on top of somebody else.
Well, that's the other thing is, having those great male role models for your daughters in particular is an important thing, especially in this day and age where there's so many creepos and stuff. Yeah. So having strong male role models for young girls is super important, and really, I'm super happy that I've got them. So
it says a lot about the culture and the kind of club you've built, that you can let your daughters run around and play with the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds, and you're not worried about anything.
No, they're just like,
it's that kind of club.
Yeah, they're all just like brothers to them, and they look after them, and that's the kind of club we run, and I wouldn't have it any other way, really.
And everyone will take the time out to say good day and, have a bit of play around with them and, make everyone feel welcome.
It's part of the club.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly right.
That's what you get when you go down to Perkins Jujitsu.
Yep, I'm after a far side leg drop on one of the bull terriers, but...
We'll put that video up too.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't done a self-defense dog video for a while, so...
Because obviously this is what you do, a fast side leg drop. I mean, everyone knows that.
Of course.
We'll put that instructional up on the website.
That'll be on there after this.
I will give a couple of shout-outs to our other partner teams, if you like. So Team Takedown with Coach Chris Shen.
We'll put the
website up.
The guy's an absolute beast, yeah, and he's improved our no-gi.
Anybody in MMA in Australia who doesn't know who Chris Shen is, then you aren't in MMA in Australia.
Actually, that's one thing I did want to ask. how do you feel about the gi and the no gi and how they can progress on parallel paths in jiu-jitsu?
I don't think they're quite parallel. I think you have to work the gi to start with. You can move into the gi early, no gi early, but I don't think you're really going to start working the no gi properly or in depth until you're probably late blue belt. Then you'll really start understanding no gi. But I think to me it's gi first, then you'll hit no gi later. But and you'll train gi for your whole life. I don't think you can ever step out of a gi.
It just feels right, doesn't it?
It just feels right, and
you put it on, tie your belt.
Yeah,
I just like more options. I like that chess side of things where you've got more options to get caught and more options to do things. And it's more clever.
And it's you go to no gi, and if you're not training the gi, you're gonna. For me personally, I think you'll start to become loose and lose pressure. Yeah. Eventually, I think the gi just promotes good technique and tightness and
collar chokes.
Yeah,
I love
teaches self-defense.
Love me a collar choke.
I'm old school, and I think the gi's where it's at. So.
Yeah, but the no-gi does have a lot of spandex, which is, kind of...
We love our spandex down at the club. Everyone likes their fancy spats and rashies and et cetera, et cetera.
That's the other main thing I think that separates Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from other martial arts is the
Lycra.
Attention to
the fashion show that comes along with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like fancy geese.
You like black geese?
Yeah, as long as they're black.
Once you go.
They made me wear a white gi at the Gracie Academy. And
did they really?
Yeah.
Wow. Fuck.
It wasn't enjoyable.
Take that shit seriously.
Oh, it wasn't enjoyable.
What the fuck do they know about jiu-jitsu?
Well, that's exactly what I asked Hori, and I said, dude, what the fuck, man?
What was the part where they charged you $380 for it? That was the problem.
No.
Allegedly.
It was all good. Yeah.
All right, this has absolutely flown by. We're very happy with that. And Deon, thank you very much for coming along. You've helped us a lot. Christened the new gear, like we said.
Yeah. No, looks it's great, guys. I'm really happy to have come in and have a chat with you guys. And I think your show's fantastic. And I'm gonna push it around to a bunch of guys that I know to try and get it going as well. It's
we appreciate it.
Yeah, and just really quickly, I'd like to thank, obviously, Team Takedown, as I said, the mailing room, the guys who help us out and sponsor us and hold us for our end-of-year dinners.
Do you know I only just found out at the end of dinner last week that it's the mailing room, not the mailing room?
Yeah,
I've always got it wrong.
I call it it is the mailing room, but I call it the mailing room just because I can do whatever I fucking want.
In Canterbury, yeah?
In Canterbury,
Canterbury
best coffee in Melbourne. Anyone else I need to thank real quick? I'm always going to forget someone. My loving partner, Jody, who takes care of everything, and basically if I didn't have her, I'd be nothing. Darling, there you go, I said it. Behind every great man there's a woman rolling her eyes.
Bull Terrier geese.
Bull Terrier geese, I'd love
A1.
one. A1, black.
Flames.
A Bull Terrier ate my Bull Terrier gi.
Flame skulls, everything.
Yep. I think that's everyone.
I think that's about it.
And anyone I've ever rolled with. You guys all rock. Oh, and my coach, Pete. He's been my coach for years. He's old like me, and he's awesome.
There we go. All right, guys. PerkinsJujitsu.com. Thanks, Deon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.